From the outside, Rena looked like every man's dream. Tall, light-skinned, beautiful. But inside she was a broken soul. Rena didn't just wake up one day and decide to become a wayward girl. Life had dealt her bitter blows from an early age. Her own father, the man who was supposed to protect her, defied her innocence when she was barely 13. And guess what? Her mother, instead of standing by her, chose to protect her husband. What happens in this family is nobody's business, her mother would say. Don't you dare open your mouth outside. So Rena grew up with hate in her heart, disgust for men. She trusted no one. She believed love was a lie and men were only good for one thing. And so, as soon as she turned 18, she left home and started living life on her own terms, smoking, drinking, partying, and sleeping with men just for fun and money. One fateful Friday night, she dressed up and headed to a popular club in town. It was a place where anything could happen, from sweet romance to heartbreak, from genuine fun to dangerous encounters. That night, as soon as she stepped into the club, two tall, handsome men approached her. They introduced themselves as Ben and Victor. Both of them had this charm. You know, that charm that could melt even the strongest woman. Their smiles alone could make you forget your own name. They bought her drinks. They laughed, they danced, they talked about life. And for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was with two people who actually wanted to hear her speak. But you know how temptation works. The devil never shows his face until it's too late. After a few hours, Victor said he was leaving, and Ben, with a sly smile, asked Rena if she wanted to come home with him. Rena, being who she was, didn't hesitate. They got to Ben's place, a fine, neat, furnished apartment. It wasn't too fancy, but it was decent enough. As soon as they got in, Ben offered her a drink. She took it. The night was already getting interesting. But something was strange. When it was time for them to be intimate, Ben turned off all the lights. Total darkness. Rena thought maybe he was shy or just liked it that way. But that wasn't even the issue. The real problem was that he didn't let her touch him. Anytime she reached out to hold him or stroke him, she would gently move her hand away. Rena, who had been with different kinds of men, had never seen this kind of thing before. But because the intimacy was so intense, so satisfying, she didn't bother too much. Afterwards, Ben told her to stay for a while. Rena, still basking in the aftermath of the pleasure she had experienced, agreed. But something was off in that house. As the early morning light started creeping in, she noticed a strange, peculiar smell she couldn't place, like something damp. The room felt colder than usual, but she chalked it up to the AC and continued sleeping. She had been in Ben's house for 2 whole days. Funny enough, nothing happened between them in those 2 days. No intimacy, no funny business. He was just calm, acted like a perfect gentleman. He cooked for her, played music, gisted about random things, and even ordered food when she didn't feel like eating his own cooking. Everything seemed normal. But on the 3rd day, early that morning, Rena woke up and realized her period had started. She sighed, thinking it was nature's way of telling her to cool down. She cleaned up, changed, and made up her mind to leave that evening. But then Ben said he wanted her. "I can't," Rena said. "I have my period." "I know," Ben replied. "That's how I like it." In all her years of wide living, with all the men she's ever been with, nobody had ever made such a request. She was shocked, confused, disgusted, but a part of her was also curious. This man had given her one of the most intense nights of her life a few days before, and somehow his presence had a way of clouding her senses. So she told him plainly, "Ben, I beg, "E dey messy down there o." But Ben just smiled and said, "I want it like that. It's sweeter when it's warm and wet." At that moment, every sense of danger in Rena's body should have woken up, but temptation can be like a stubborn fly on a festering wound. She paused. Then she made a request. "Okay, but this time I want the lights on." "No," he said, his voice low, firm and final. "I told you I don't like lights on." Tell me, what kind of man refuses to be seen in his own house? Rena's mind began to race. Something was not adding up. But stubborn as she was, almost pushed further, but something in her spirit told her to let it go. That night, as darkness swallowed the room and the air grew heavy, Ben reached for her. But something strange happened. Rena felt a sudden coldness, not ordinary cold. This one entered her bones. As his hands touched her, it felt different. It wasn't like the first night. She told herself maybe it was her imagination. Maybe it was fear playing tricks on her. But deep down, something wasn't right. Ben was able to convince Rena to stay for a few more days. Then one night he came home late from work, drunk like never before. The kind of drunk where your feet can barely carry you and your words are slurred. He stumbled into the house, dropped his keys, muttered something about being tired, and collapsed on the bed, fully clothed. You know how temptation is. When you've lived a reckless life for long, you start feeling untouchable. And to make matters worse, Rena was high. Her body was burning for no reason. It was like a spell was on her. She lay on the bed beside the sleeping Ben, her mind fighting itself. Should I? Should I not? But before she knew it, her hand was already reaching for his trousers. Slowly, carefully, so he wouldn't wake up, she unzipped it. She reached inside and touched him. After a few minutes, she started to feel his manhood move. She paused. Her heart started racing. Was she just thinking it? But curiosity had already pushed her too far. She tried again, and indeed, it moved. Not like how a man's thing would respond. No, this one wiggled. Like a snake. A cold sweat broke out on her face. She withdrew her hand sharply, and for the first time in a long while, she felt real fear. The kind of fear that makes your body stiff and your throat dry. But because the room was dark, she still wasn't sure what was happening. Maybe it was Her Highness playing tricks on her. So she reached for her phone. Hands trembling, she switched on the flashlight. What she saw that night, her mouth could never speak of it. Ben's trousers were halfway down, and right there, where his manhood was supposed to be, a black snake was staring at her. Not ordinary snake. This one had tiny reddish eyes. It lifted its head slightly, as if aware it had been seen. Rena's scream nearly escaped, but she caught it. Her soul left her body for a second. She jumped off the bed so fast she nearly lost her balance. Everything suddenly made sense. Why he never allowed lights on. Why he always insisted on the doggy position. Why he didn't like being touched there. Why he somehow knew when her period started. The man wasn't a man. Something else was wearing this skin. But Rena wasn't ready to die that night. She tiptoed as quietly as her pounding heart would allow, grabbed her handbag and slippers, and made for the door. Every creak of the floorboard felt like a thunderclap in that silence. When she opened the door, the night air slapped her face, and without looking back, she ran. She ran like a mad woman through the streets, barefoot, heart pounding, not caring who she saw. The only thing she wanted was to be far, far away from that house. When she finally reached her own room, she locked the door, bolted the windows, and collapsed onto the floor. The next day, her phone rang. It was Ben. He was angry, said all sorts to her. Obviously, he was aware she had seen what she wasn't supposed to see. That was fine with Rina, because she wanted nothing more to do with him. 3 whole weeks passed. Rina tried everything she could to forget what she saw that night. But no matter how many drinks she swallowed, no matter how many pills she popped, or men she slept with, that image wouldn't leave her head. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw those tiny reddish eyes, that cold, scaly thing wriggling where a man's manhood should have been. It haunted her, and as much as she hated to admit it, a small part of her felt drawn to Ben, as if something invisible was pulling her soul towards him. Then one afternoon, just when she was beginning to feel like maybe she was finally getting her life back, her phone rang. It was Ben. Her hand shook a little as she stared at the screen. A part of her wanted to ignore it, but curiosity can be a wicked thing. She answered. The voice on the other end was cold and angry. So you think you can run away like that after seeing what you weren't supposed to see? Rina's heart skipped, but she quickly gathered herself. Ben, I beg, leave me alone. I don't want anything to do with you anymore. Whatever you are, whoever you are, face your own life. He ranted, insulted her, called her names, but Rina didn't care. She was done. She blocked his number, or so she thought. The next day, around 11:30 p.m., her phone rang again. Unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. Rina, it's me. His voice was calm this time, soft, like someone who had just finished crying. Please, please, I need you back in my life. Rina's hands trembled. The memory of the night before was still fresh. How she tried to pleasure him while he was passed out drunk, only for his manhood to wiggle in a strange, unnatural way. And now, here he was on the phone, begging her to come back. Ben, listen to me. I don't want anything to do with you anymore. You can have any woman you like. Why are you bothering me? What is your problem? What exactly do you want from me? She shouted. There was a moment of silence on the line. Then his voice softened. Rina, you wouldn't understand. You've done something you shouldn't have. And now, you have to finish it. Rina's heart pounded. What do you mean, finish it? Speak plain English, Ben. I don't understand you. I'll explain everything, but only on one condition. Rina's jaw dropped. After everything I've been through, after what I saw, you still have the guts to give me a condition? Fine. Talk. What's your stupid condition? He took a long breath before answering. You have to come back with me to my world to get fully initiated. Rina's blood turned cold. Wait. What world? What are you talking about, Ben? What do you mean by fully initiated? Then his voice dropped an octave, and then he said, Rina, I am not from your world. I belong to the spiritual realm. I am a snake spirit, one of the water people. In our world, there are strict rules. We are forbidden from letting any human woman see or touch our sacred form, especially our manhood. That's why I never let you see me, never let you touch me during intercourse. Always in the dark, always from behind. It's the rule of my kind. Rina's throat went dry. That night you touched me. You broke a sacred law. You shouldn't have survived it. You were supposed to die on the spot, but you didn't. Which means, Rina, there's something inside you, a rare special spirit. My people sensed it, and now they want you. Want me for what, Ben? She demanded. To become one of us, to fully initiate you into our realm. There's a hierarchy in my world, Rina. Every member of our kind belongs to a certain level. But now that you've touched me and survived, my elders are intrigued. They believe you were meant for something greater in our world. You must follow me to our realm to complete your initiation. Rina's chest was heaving. And if I refuse? His voice turned sinister. Then you have 3 days. Because I slept with you, I left a mark on your soul. I will place a curse on you. Your insides will begin to rot. You will suffer and beg for death before it comes. So you have a choice. Join us or die. Rina's eyes widened in horror. She wanted to deny it, to call him a liar, a madman, but deep down, something made her shiver. She recalled the odd sharp pains she'd been feeling on her left side for the past week. She had dismissed it as stress or period cramps, and just yesterday, she noticed a strange sour smell clinging to her even after bathing. Her lips quivered. "Ben, what have you done to me?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I warned you, Rina. Now you belong to us. You have 3 days to decide." He hung up. Rina sat frozen, phone still pressed to her ear, her breathing shallow. Tears filled her eyes. What kind of nightmare had she fallen into? Was this the price of our reckless lifestyle? Or was it the curse of our past? From a childhood riddled with abuse, a mother who told her to keep quiet, a heart forever broken, now dragged into a spiritual horror she couldn't escape. Her mind raced. She had 3 days. What in the world had she gotten herself into? Who on earth sent her to touch that thing? What kind of curiosity had pushed her to open a man's trouser in the middle of the night, especially one like Ben? Now she was stuck, trapped in a sick, twisted situation she never bargained for. That night, after the phone call ended, Rina sat on the edge of her tiny bed, staring at the cracked wall in front of her. Her stomach was in knots. God, what have I done? The words felt bitter on her tongue. And now, this man, or whatever he truly was, had laid it all out. He said if she agreed to his conditions, followed him into his world, and completed the initiation, she would become one of them. She would forget everything about her life, her past, her struggles, her pain. No one from her world would ever recognize her again. Wealth beyond comprehension, power she never imagined. But Rina didn't want it. Not the wealth, not the power, not the forgetfulness. She wanted her life, her messy, complicated, painful, ordinary life. She wanted to be left alone. But it wasn't that simple. She was left with his ultimatum of faith. Either she did it or she died. She clutched her stomach. The sharp pain on her left side stabbed again, more intense this time. It made her bend over, gripping her waist. There was no one she could tell. Who would believe that the handsome, charming Ben was a snake spirit from the water realm? That his manhood was a living snake? That she accidentally initiated herself by touching it, and now she had 3 days to either follow him or rot from the inside out. It had been 2 days since Ben dropped that terrifying revelation on Rina. 2 days of dread, 2 days of numbness, 2 days of feeling like death itself was hanging in the corner of her room, watching, waiting. Rina was high again. Some cheap pills she bought from a street boy down the road. She didn't even check what it was, didn't care. She just wanted to mute the pain. She left home at 18, never looked back. Nobody ever looked for her either. And since then, it had been from one man after another, one night stand, random hookups. She opened her eyes, staring at the ceiling fan above her. Would anyone even miss her if she vanished today? She asked herself. The thought gripped her chest. Nobody would. Not her mother, who buried her pain to protect a monster. not the father who ruined her childhood, not the men who used her body like public toilet, not the street boys she got high with. She had no one, no anchor, no safety. But what was she really leaving behind? A shattered life? A broken soul? A forgotten name in a world that didn't care? Tears ran down her cheek. Maybe it won't be so bad, she whispered to herself. Maybe it would be better to disappear into that world where she didn't have to feel anything anymore. No memories, no pain, no past. But deep down, something fought inside her, a tiny ember refusing to die out. Rena had been knocked out for hours, deep in the clutches of whatever it was she took. She wasn't sure if it was morning, afternoon, or night. The room smelled of stale sweat. She heard a soft, steady hissing. At first, it blended with the ringing in her ears. She thought it was just the drugs messing with her head again, but it got louder, closer, sharper. Her eyes fluttered open, and there it was, a massive snake taller than anything she had ever imagined, towering above her frail, trembling body. Its scales shimmered in the light, but the horror wasn't just the size, it was the face. Skin smooth as polished marble, eyes that burned like two smoldering coals, lips red as blood. Rena's scream tore through the room, a raw, panicked sound. She scrambled back against the wall, her hands fumbling for anything to defend herself with. A stick, a bottle, anything. But there was nothing. Then the snake spoke. Its voice was deep, feminine, and cold enough to freeze her soul. Rena clamped her hand over her mouth, trying to control herself, sweat pouring down her entire body. "You should be dead by now," the creature said, eyes narrowing. "But I like you." The room felt like it was spinning, darkness creeping in the edges of Rena's vision. The snake lowered its head closer, its forked tongue flickering. "So I'm giving you 7 days." Rena's heart hammered in her chest. 7 days to submit yourself to me, to surrender to your destiny, or else you die. The creature began to coil itself around Rena's weak body, not to crush, but to remind her of its power. Cold, thick, and heavy, it looped around her waist, over her shoulder, then loosened. And just like that, the snake vanished, evaporating into thin air, like mist in the morning sun. Rena sat there, her body trembling uncontrollably, sweat soaking through her clothes. She could still feel the weight of those cold scales on her skin. What in God's name was she going to do? Who could she even tell about this? Who would believe her? She was alone. 7 days. Her insides already felt like they were burning. She looked down at her stomach, half expecting to see blood or something rotten, but there was nothing. Rena buried her face in her hands. "God, please, what do I do now?" she whispered into the darkness. It's been 4 long, miserable days since that night. The night the massive snake coiled itself around her trembling body and gave her an ultimatum. Rena hadn't left her room since then. The days melted into each other in a blur of darkness, hallucinations, and constant hissing sounds that only she could hear. She accepted it. If death was coming, so be it. She had nothing to hold on to anyway. No family, no friends. No one would miss her when she was gone. On the 6th day, something in her snapped. She got up and stumbled out into the streets. She walked straight to a dealer she knew at an abandoned corner shop, handed him the last crumbled notes in her pocket, and collected a dangerous mix of hard substances. This would be it, her final curtain. She found a quiet, empty spot behind an old fence where no one would find her till morning, or ever. She held the sachets in her hand, her eyes blurry with tears and regret. She opened one and was about to swallow it all when a strange, persistent thought hit her out of nowhere. Go to church. She scoffed. Church? Now? After everything? Would God even listen to a mess like her? But the thought wouldn't let go. So she stood up, stuffed the sachets in her pocket, and staggered through the streets till she saw it. A large, faintly lit building with a weathered sign that read, Land of Grace Mission. The doors were open. Inside it was quiet. A few scattered chairs, an old wooden pulpit, a huge faded cross hanging behind the altar. She shuffled in like a ghost and collapsed onto one of the seats. Her heart felt heavy, her soul crushed under the years of pain, shame and filth. She tried to pray, but no words came, only silence. So she got up and walked unsteady to the altar. The room seemed to shrink around her. She knelt down and she wept. And in that moment, her lips opened. Lord Jesus, I am so sorry for letting you down. I feel so dirty. I don't deserve you, but I hope you can forgive me. But Rena didn't wait for a miracle. She was done hoping. Without thinking, she pulled out the sachets, ingested everything in one go, right there at the altar. And as the world around her began to darken, as her body started shutting down, she felt oddly peaceful. When Rena's heavy eyelids fluttered open, she was faced with white ceilings. She was in a hospital room, hooked to machines, IV drips, heart monitors, oxygen tubes. The steady, annoying beep of the heart monitor told her she was still alive. But how? Had she died and come back? What day was it? Was it already too late for her? A middle-aged man, neatly dressed in a simple outfit, sat beside her bed. He gave her a small smile and spoke softly. I am Pastor Paul, the resident pastor of Land of Grace Mission. Rena's heart skipped a beat. The church. She remembered. Tears blurred her eyes. She swallowed hard. I didn't mean to. I wasn't, sir. I just wanted to die. Tears blurred her vision again. I've done terrible things. Things I can't even begin to tell you. And now, I'm cursed. The devil wants my soul. I don't even know why I'm still here. Pastor Paul squeezed her hand gently. It wasn't your time, my child. God is not done with you yet. The enemy came for you, yes, but heaven intervened. Rena shook her head, trembling. You don't understand. I messed up. I got involved with someone. Something. He's a snake from the water. And I saw what I wasn't supposed to see. And now, they say I belong to them. That I'll die if I don't follow them. A snake told me I had 7 days. How long was I unconscious? You were unconscious for 7 days. God is not done with you yet. Jesus loves you and has given you another chance. Don't disappoint him again. By this time, the tears were flowing freely now. She was stunned, amazed, humbled by God's love for her. God had given her a second chance, and she was not going to let him down.